My name is Aziz. I'm from Sudan. I've been on Manus for 6 years. The humanitarian crisis or the medical crisis on Manus Island is now so badly that many men will be left permanently injured.
That was Aziz, a refugee on Manus Island that we interviewed last week. When Parliament resumes tomorrow, Tuesday, one of the first orders of business is going to be a vote on the floor of the House of Representatives on a private member's bill called the Urgent Medical Treatment Bill. We thought it was important to share something about this bill with you because it goes to the heart of the way we treat a group of people that we're responsible for, that is, the asylum seekers and refugees on Manus Island and Nauru. Here's Dr. Kerryn Phelps, the newly elected MP for Wentworth, who tabled the bill, telling us a little bit about what it is.
Under the bill that has been through the Senate and will be considering next week, what will happen is that a doctor on Manus Island or Nauru will say, we cannot cope with this case on Manus or Nauru. We need help. And then a second doctor would agree, and that might be a doctor who is on Manus or Nauru, or it could be
a doctor in
by telemedicine, which is how we conduct remote medicine here in Australia now. The minister then has the right within 24 hours to say, I have national security concerns, this person cannot come. If they say that there is that they disagree medically with the opinion of those two doctors, then it immediately goes to a medical panel for review. It's a fast-track, streamlined procedure which cuts through the obfuscation and the obstruction that we've seen until now.
So that's essentially what the bill is. Sounds simple, right? So how is that different from the existing process? Here's Dr. Nick Martin, who spent 7 months as the Senior Medical Officer on Nauru.
The situation as it is right now is absolutely unworkable. If you are a doctor working on the ground in Nauru and you have a clear-cut case of someone who needs to get off Nauru for definitive investigation or treatment, your recommendations go from IHMS to Australian Border Force, and then they effectively get lost. It goes to a committee that has no accountability. You don't get to see any oversight of their notes, and they just refuse it with no reason given. When you then query it, you're basically told, stop asking questions, that decision's been made. This system does need to change because right now you have medical decisions being overridden by bureaucrats. And so you do get people with chronic long-term conditions which deteriorate and deteriorate and deteriorate.
Okay, but when these medical transfers are requested now, under the current system, how often are they turned down?
They were turned down on every single occasion. And even when it was an absolute clear and cut and dried case and the person was critically ill.
Here's Kerryn Phelps again.
It's just unconscionable the way these people have been treated. And we've had 13 medical colleges and 6,000 doctors sign a petition calling for a change to the system.
That letter, with over 6,000 signatures from doctors and peak medical bodies, was organised by an incredible GP in Sydney called Dr. Sarah Townend. I asked her on Skype yesterday what the government response was when she delivered that letter to Parliament House.
The Prime Minister has never formally responded in any way to the fact that thousands of doctors have been concerned about this and raised their voices publicly, put their integrity on the line. I come from a perspective that this is a simple issue of inequity, and a core value of a doctor is that all patients deserve treatment regardless of their status in society or their location or their race or their gender. And the fact that they've ignored such a wealth of expertise is incredibly disappointing.
So, is there a medical crisis? Well, according to the government, everything's fine.
Say that people are still sick there and being left there, and the decisions being made by the bureaucrats are leaving them there, not giving them attention they need.
Well, we have considerable medical support and services, both in Nauru and in Manus Island. And where people require that attention, then it is provided.
But they are pretty much the only people saying that. Doctors Without Borders is one of the most highly respected independent medical humanitarian organisations in the world. This is what they said in October about the medical situation on Nauru shortly after they were ordered to discontinue treatment and were expelled from the island.
The mental health conditions of asylum seekers and refugees trapped on Nauru is absolutely devastating.
Virtually every patient I met expressed current, intense suicidal ideation, and many had recent self-harm or suicide attempts. The word I heard most often in my own therapy sessions with patients was destroyed. I heard it in their words and I saw it in their eyes.
While many asylum seekers and refugees on Nauru have experienced trauma in their countries of origin, it is the Australian government's policy of indefinite offshore detention that has destroyed their resilience, shattered all hope, and ultimately impacted their mental health.
So what about the situation over on Manus Island? Well, here's Aziz again, and another refugee we interviewed on Manus this week, Shamandan.
We have more than 35 cases, people who have attempted to harm themselves, self-harm, people attempted to set themselves on fire, and some who have attempted to hang themselves. And most of those cases, they have not been treated. And as the people who have witnessed the death of our seven beloved brothers, we are not ready to lose another one. And most recently, we have a new symptoms that people start to experiencing on the island. We have people are lying in their beds and people are sleeping in their rooms 24/7. They are not eating, they are not drinking, don't want to even get out of their rooms. They don't want even to see, how, the place or the building or their friends.
I'm Shaminda Kanapati. I'm a Sri Lankan Tamil refugee. I have been detained on Manus Island almost 6 years. The medical condition on Manus Island, which is really deteriorating day by day. It's a remote island, more than 70,000 men just depending on Manus local hospital. It's really hard. Most of the men are only just taking sleeping tablets and some kind of tablet which is not helping them. And I know many men are taking almost more than 5 to 10 tablets every day to at least to get some sleep and to calm themselves.
So it's not really a difficult concept to understand that people we're responsible for are entitled to access to adequate medical care, and that's what this bill does. It allows that to happen fast by putting medical issues in the hands of doctors with protections on security grounds. But according to the government, it's not about medical treatment at all.
I will do everything in my power to ensure that these suggested changes that would undermine our border protection laws never see the light of day. Don't kid yourself. You make that change to that process for offshore processing, the people smugglers, it'll be in their brochures by this afternoon. That's where it'll be. We always think that this stuff is marketed differently in the minds of 12,000 people sitting in Indonesia. They're not going to sit there and read a Senate report or anything like that. They'll hear the people smuggler who sidles up to them and says, hey, guess what? The Australians have changed the legislation. You won't have to stay on Nauru or Manus. All you have to do is get some doctor in Australia to sign it off and it's all good, mate.
It's important to note that this bill doesn't change Operation Sovereign Borders or boat turnbacks or any element of the current border policy, and it doesn't provide for permanent resettlement. It's just about
emergency medical transfers of critically ill people from Manus Island and Nauru. And until now, there has been a long, lengthy delay. There has been almost obsessive legal intervention to try and stop people who are ill from being transferred over to Australia for the care that they need.
But on the government side, the scaremongering just keeps flying. This is Christopher Pyne appearing on Insiders yesterday.
How is it that almost all of them would qualify to be in Australia on the grounds of ill health?
Well, they could all qualify, and the bottom line is,
so
Barry,
they're all ill. You're suggesting that almost all of them are ill.
The bottom line is, Barry, we're not prepared to weaken border protection.
No,
like
that's not the point. Can you explain to me how it is that it's got to the point where almost all of them are ill?
The point is, Barry, because of this government's policies, we've stopped the boats because of temporary protection visas.
That's not an answer to that question.
I would ask that the politicians be brave. It is about one thing, which is allowing a doctor to treat a patient and to complete the circle of care. In order for a remote patient to have full care, it is necessary that we have the facility to temporarily transfer them if they have a complex health need that cannot be met on site.
I think this this whole charade has gone on for so long. It's been brutal. It's treated other human beings in a way that we would never tolerate ourselves. And it's time for compassion and humanity and solidarity to begin. And this is the time and place where it can start. So I encourage you to email your MP, ring your MP, and tell them to back the bill tomorrow. and let's start looking after these people.